On his first full day in Canada, Pope Francis delivered a historic apology for the, quote, evil committed by so many Christians against Indigenous people. His week-long trip centers around his response to the treatment of Indigenous children at government-funded schools, the majority ran by Catholics from the 1800s to the 1900s. Chris Livesey is traveling with the Pope.
Site of a former residential school in the Canadian city of Massachusetts, Pope Francis was greeted with sacred drumming and dance, rituals the church once sought to erase. It was here the Pope issued a historic apology to a crowd of thousands, most of them Indigenous people.
I am here because the first step of my penitential pilgrimage among you is that of again asking forgiveness.
That apology was met with applause from the crowd, as was this request.
I ask forgiveness.
People were visibly emotional, wiping their tears. The Pope was given a traditional headdress to wear after his remarks. The Pope began the day visiting what is believed to be a graveyard for some of the children who never made it home. For around a century, more than 150,000 Native children were taken from their families to attend government-funded residential schools, most of them run by the Catholic Church. They faced rampant neglect, physical and sexual abuse while being forced to assimilate. Richard Green spent 9 years in a residential school. His parents had also been forced to attend. Historian Indigenous Laws is a professor of theology.
Hasn't admitted that the Catholic Church has a sort of systemic role in the way that Indigenous people have been treated in Canada and in the cultural genocide that took place in these institutions of education.
For CBS Mornings, Chris Livesey, Edmonton, Canada.
Apology.
A regretful acknowledgement of offense or failure. That was a video relating to the Catholic Church apologizing relating to Indigenous children, abuse of Indigenous children. That was a report. A regretful acknowledgement of offense or failure. A very poor or inadequate example of, many can say regarding that. You know, you can get some scriptures. All praise Yahweh Shem Yoshua Bashem Rakakadash. That was CBS report. Get some scriptures here. Never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. So you can't trust your enemy, man. That's what scripture says, can't trust your enemy. Because like iron rusted, so is his wickedness. So his wickedness is what he is, man. It never changes, man. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. So it's telling you a warning about him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. You can't wipe away the rust, man, because it'll come back again. For his natural state is what it is, man. It's like a zebra trying to change his stripes, man. Psalms 55 and Psalms 55 and 20. For he had put forth his hands against such and be at peace with him. So he put his hands on people that were at peace with him, that wanted to be friends with him, man. And he had broken the covenant. That covenant is that oath, treaties, bonds, that word. So they have broken that, man. And that goes back spiritually, all the way back to Esau and Jacob, and even before that to Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel, Esau and Jacob. That hatred, man, it's a spiritual thing, man. It goes over the birthmark. Psalms 83, these nations will be confederate against thee, man, and they will hate thee. Ezekiel 35 and 6, that perpetual hatred. Perpetual is a continuing hatred they will have, man. So this is a spiritual thing, man. For the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. So his words are smoother. Smooth as butter. They might even say the right things. But war was in his heart. But in his heart, which is his mind, was contrary to that. His words were softer than oil, yet they drawn swords. So they spoke and said the right things, but in their mind and heart, their intentions was very, very combative, to be very combative, man. Because ultimately, they never liked you, man. I mean, this is deeper than skin color. This is a spiritual matter, man. The scripture says it is, man. For the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, because they're very they use subtlety, they're very cunning and very crafty with their lips, man. You know what I mean? So they design and speak, you know what I mean, saying the right things, man. But ultimately, their intent is what you have to pay attention to, because their intentions are totally different than what they're speaking, man. So scripture, their action speaks louder than, so, you know, in the matter of speaking, their action speaks louder than words, man. You know? That's what they say of the world, man. So let's continue to go. Ten and 8. There's something short. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, man. So unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit by using certain people. Using certain people so it can benefit and ultimately gain to their advantage. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. So it was translated or taken forcefully from one people to another, man. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 12. I want to go to the Common English Bible. I want to read 12 and 16. I'll complement with 55, 20, 21 of Psalms. Enemies speak sweetly with their lips, but in their hearts they plan to throw thee into the ditch. So they speak sweetly and all innocent in their lips, but they ready to lay hands and physically hurt you, man. The enemy cries tears with his eyes. So he cries tears, he sheds tears. But if they find an opportunity, they won't be able to get enough blood. So all they need is opportunity and motive to do certain things, man. Because that's their intent, man. Their intent is to get close to you, to undermine you and hurt you, man. If you meet up with trouble, you will find them there ahead of you. How convenient. So you're going to find them there ahead of you, because ultimately they're the ones that probably were behind it, man. Read that again, man. If you meet if you meet up with trouble, you will find them there ahead of you and appearing to help. So they're going to have the appearance to be all, in the matter of speaking, shocked and look like they're concerned about you. But ultimately, they're the ones that set it up, man. Remember, they were there to get close to you to ultimately undermine you, man. If you meet up with trouble, you will find them there ahead of you and appearing to help. So they have the appearance to help you. They will trip you. They will shake their heads. That trip you is pretty much undermining you, because ultimately they have a motive, ulterior motive, man. They will shake their heads and clap their hands, and they will whisper many things and change their faces. So their whole dynamic is going to change, man, because ultimately they had something planned to do, and they had something planned to do against you, man. They were there to ultimately undermine you, to capitalize using you, man. And so that's what happened to certain groups of people historically, man. So some will say that apology would be very weak, because they have done these entities and organizations been doing certain things to certain groups of people for years, hundreds of years, man. And the ones that are affected, they're affected for life, man. So that apology really don't mean nothing, man, to the people who are affected by it, regarding that, man. And the matter of speaking is weak, man. This was a common English Bible. So that was a different translation, different variation. This was something short. I'm going to give all praise. Yahweh Bashem Yoshua Bashem Makakadas, your brother Zayah, Wolf, Obehel, Shalom.